And as it is, we told you that, well, we also want to delve deeper into bigger conversations, especially looking at issues, events that might have characterized the year. And so we decided to bring some of our great political correspondents right here in the studio with myself, Cookie, and then also Nashoko. And now we have to introduce them, don't we?
Yes, we do. So we have
Duke Mensa Opoku.
Yes, from our political desk, who has brought us all the updates, news, information, everything we need to know, social commentary, and more on happenings in our political space. Duke is here with us. Duke, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy returns.
We share a common middle name, you and I.
Oh yeah, Mensa.
Yes.
It's a very nice, typical Ghanaian
Mensa,
name. You know, Mensa Papa.
Mensa
The
Papa.
traditional connotation of Mensa.
Not the other one.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're
good
welcome
to be here.
the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great to have you.
Here.
Also, my senior from school, my senior from GIJ, a gentleman I have admired for many years, who I finally have the privilege of working with, Komla Kluche. Hi, Uncle Komla. How are you?
Merry Christmas.
Many happy returns to you. I hope you have enjoyed the holidays so far.
Well, I'm not too sure if we can say happy holidays, but we were working over the holidays. So I was here, Duke was here yesterday as well. I was here a day before. Where were you? You were not here.
Where?
Did you come to work over the holidays?
I was here yesterday. Apparently, I wasn't supposed to.
He was picking out his outfit for today. As you can tell, you know, he's looking really funky
Just
today.
like one of those days when you know you are starting your leave, you've worked yourself so hard, and you report the following day not knowing you are supposed to be on leave.
Yes.
I saw the way you were dressed, and I thought the all-white party was today.
Roland, it's not today, but Roland has been gearing up for the all-white party.
I put on my television and I saw the three of you. I was like, Charlie, the party will be today.
Especially Roland, right? Especially Roland.
You pay the money.
Which money?
But
The
the
all-white
all-white is
party,
not
don't be
free.
All right, that's it. Again, we have to remind you, we have the 3FM All-White Party. It's taking place tomorrow. It is the La Palm Royal Beach Hotel.
Yes, La Palm Royal Beach Hotel tomorrow night.
So we're going to have Stoneboy, everybody else right there. And then,
yes. And the team. We're still selling tables.
You.
I think AJ, our all-white queen, has told us that we have a few more tables to sell. So Aquaba is performing, Stoneboy is performing, the God MC, M.Manifest is performing as well. We have
King Terminator also there.
Yeah.
King Promise.
Yeah, King Promise is performing.
There's KK for Sue.
Yeah. I'm looking forward
My
to
all-time
watching KK for Sue.
Contemporary high life artists.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I love him all the time.
See, Roland is some Andaji hard guy. Andaji. Anyway. So what are we doing today for a big issue?
Well, so we're talking many things that have characterized the year. So we'll take a look at a couple of them, but let's first ask our main people, what are their top 5 picks? Do you have any top 5 picks? Just mention them.
I think today we're focusing on politics.
Yeah,
so political stories.
Yes. Only politics.
Top 5.
I mean, they're mainly into politics.
Yes.
Yeah, top 5 political stories for me. This year has been, I mean, usually we actually say that the hardly do we have time for governance in this country. I mean, it's one of the bad things about the way we have evolved our political space and governance architecture in this country. First year for any government, I mean, if it's a fresh government, they are putting together their pieces. Second, they are settling in. Third, they are preparing for the next election. Fourth year is an election year. So hardly is there any time for governance. It's one of the things that we really need to look at, I mean, if we want to be... And so every time it's political season, really. And so for the penultimate year to an election, it's always very crucial because that's when the... If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And a day in politics is a very long time. So people, the political parties and the actors, when they sit behind their chessboard and they are, planning and plotting, a lot of things really get to their crescendo in the year before.
Okay.
Because if you're able to get your act right in the year before, the execution phase, which is during the election year, becomes quite tough for you, right? So 5 picks for me. Number 1 would obviously be, and I'm not in any particular order, but the shake-up in the minority leadership, that's number 1 for me.
Okay.
Yes. the shake-up in the political
Minority
Cecilia
space.
Adapa would be another one.
Will be
for me.
another
Okay.
one. Okay.
The
We're asking you to see whether what we also picked also seem to
yes,
rhyme
so
with.
yeah, the Alan exit
Okay.
is one for me. Is the
Movement
other
for
one.
change.
Movement for change.
All right.
Then you have Baumia versus Mahama. Is another one for me.
Because
And
now it's a done deal.
now it's a
Sealed.
done deal,
All right.
yeah. And then the fight between the speaker and the president. The ongoing fight that they have not.
A typical watcher of the legislature, certainly. What about you, Komla?
Well, I'll do a general one, and then I'll come to Parliament as well. But I mean, to a large extent, Duke has been able to even touch on some of them. The general one I'll talk about the Galamsey Kingpin, was
Aisha
one who has finally been jailed. Presidential hopeful Alan Tremantin resigning from the NPP and standing as an independent candidate. Then this year we've seen the OSP really been at work. Has he been able to achieve
That fight, huh?
Yeah, so he and then the Cecilia Dapa thing and how we reported it, stationing our men in the residence, the number of hours that the money supposedly was counted. I remember
The one they said we lied,
when
right?
Moen, I was just going to that when Moen Agbeta did that story and everybody said no, it was lying. I recall some key government assigns and also sympathizers of the NPP calling us out and all that, but eventually the OSP to a large extent vindicated us, and so that's about that one. Then the IGP leaked tape saga. Duke covered that. So much.
I was expecting Duke to mention it as one of his.
No, look, it's quite a difficult thing. Listen, if you have to do this at the end of the day, then it means that you have to start from the first of the month, and then you list it all down to the last day.
I had to choose between that one and the fight with the speaker. I decided to choose that.
No, but I think the issue about the fight with the speaker, I really do not think. I mean, vintage Bagbin as we know him. Even he.
You didn't
and
say
Chime-
vintage.
Yes. That's him. I mean, the old man. For him, I mean, we recall the fight he had with, or the banter he had with Chambers, and when Chambers was mortified from being his friend to a former friend. So
On the floor.
Yes, this was on the floor, and those things
Because
are still in the records of the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I will tell you when it comes to explanation, I think it's a really big deal.
It is.
It really is.
All right, so let's begin the conversation. And
That was.
you
my-
haven't finished.
Yes,
So
yes.
That's your third.
Yes. So the last one on the general one where John Mahama asking NDC lawyers to take up positions on the bench. You recall that particular assignment I covered
that
it,
statement.
and the backlash
In
that came
Akosombo.
with it. Yes, in Akosombo. So in Parliament, Trade Minister withdrawing the LI on the 22 imported items. The Speaker fired Duke said that. Then Ghana's Parliament hosted for the very first time the 66th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference. Then the consideration stage of the anti-LGBT bill began.
All right. So I think we seem to have a certain synergy in what. So we'll talk about the anti-LGBTQ bill. We'll talk about the Cecilia Dapa Gate scandal, if there's anything like that at all. And then, of course,
The Galamsey Queen.
yes, the Galamsey issue. And then we'll talk about movement for change, Alan exit, etc. And then we'll climax it with, if we can, apart from all the other issues, the race, if not the fight, between former President John Dramani Mahama and then, of course, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because all of them being elected to face each other for 2024. So,
And I think if we have a bit of time, we can talk about the OSP.
Okay. So
Cecilia
now just
Dapa and so on.
start with any of them that you want to.
Oh, well, I think we should begin with, let's begin with Alan Tremantin's exit.
Okay.
So that was a very big topical political story, if you like. It still is as we enter the election year 2024. We're looking forward to the real shake-up, if at all, Alan Tremantin's movement for change will bring to the NPP and to the political race as a whole. Perhaps we can also touch on the third force. We still haven't really heard enough about it to know what exactly,
which
who
one,
exactly
the mask
is behind the mask.
or the one who has come out?
The mask.
Okay.
Yeah, and the many issues that have followed the imprisonment, or if you like, arrest of the spokesperson for the third force and so on. But let's start with Alan Kyerematen's exit. And I remember the day he announced his exit, I had a conversation with you behind the scenes, Duke, and I asked you whether you thought this exit was going to really affect the party. How do you feel about it now?
Well, he seems to still be gathering momentum. The polls, I mean, as we've seen, as has been done, still predicts that, I mean, he will have an impact in the Ashanti region. The very day that Alan announced his exit from the party, right after that, I mean, announcement, I had the opportunity, one of the very opportunity to interview him one-on-one before he came to do the Bella when he interviewed. What I could tell from him was this was a gentleman who had decided to take his own political destiny into his own hands. I mean, and let's not begrudge him, or let's not shy away from the fact that Alan Kyerematen has never been on any national ballot before. That's what people forget. Okay. Alan has not contested for Member of Parliament before. Neither has he been on a political ballot before.
Not even assembly.
Not even, that one I don't want to.
You mean nationally?
Nationally.
Nationally.
He's not been on a national ballot before. Like an electoral commission organized for everybody. He's only contested MPP elections. Okay. So, I mean, for someone who has not even done that, to be able to still have that kind of political clout that he has, for which people like even the majority leader and other members of the New Patriotic Party still think it is important for them to woo him back into the fold, tells you about that. And I wrote an article about it. I mean, people can still go and look for it, about what his independent candidature. The dance between the elephant and the monarch butterfly. Oh, yes, that's the article. Okay. Talks and I did some numerical analysis about how independent candidates over the period have performed, how they have performed over the period, and what Alan Kyerematen's candidature brings to the table. Personally, I don't think Alan cannot win the election because I mean, from all political analysis, from every analysis that has been conducted over the years, the political parties as political machineries wield between 35 to 40% of the vote. So who the candidate is the one who brings the extra 15% or the extra 20% or the extra 25% to take the party and the candidate above the 50+1.
You don't think that we're at a point, or would ever get to a point, where we'll give room for a third force, so to speak?
The dominant model of voting, a political scientist will tell you in Ghana, is the sociological model of voting, where the voting is not just based on it's not just based on what is seen and what is spoken of. Of course, we've moved gradually from the point where people say that, I mean, this is where we are, no matter what it is, this is where we will die. People say that this is the party in which we were born into. My grandfather did this, so this is where we are. Rollins did this to my family, so we are never voting this. So we're still a people that have those kind of sentiments. So it's not only about one who is promising 24-hour economy, or who is promising digital economy, or who is promising blue economy, or whatever it is. And in any case, how many of our citizens have evolved to the level where they understand what microeconomics means, what this IMF extended credit facility means? All those issues. So for them, it's all about sloganeering and that kind of thing. So it's difficult for people to touch base with the fact that this is where we voted all this while. So I want to move on to another. It's that sentimental attachment, that feeling to saying that you're buying, even if I'm not getting anything, you're buying also. Oh, we are those in power. So that's the kind of mentality that has. I mean, that is why to make it very difficult for a third force to be able to. What did PPP not do in this country? At the point they had national spread across all over the country, but they couldn't even win one seat in parliament. You get the point. PNC, CPP, by CPP gradually, they've ceded that side of their political space to the NDC. So Alan Kyerematen may be able to, he may turn kingmaker if it goes into a second round, but he doesn't have the political class.
What does it mean when you say he may turn kingmaker?
what that means is that, I mean, there are a number of independent candidates who have decided that we saw it in 2000 when the Mills Kufuor runoff happened. We saw all the other political parties coalesce around Kufuor. And I mean, even added their, what's it called? The seats in parliament and the rest, and say we are forming a coalition behind Kufuor. After which that was in 96. But yeah, before Kufuor then decided, when he won, gave the likes of Malam Issa, Moses Daniba and the rest positions in Doom, because going to the second round, all of these political parties came together and said we are supporting you. Same thing happened in 2009. The Mills Akufo-Addo, 49,000 difference going to the second round. All the other political parties went to support the opposition. So it's more like less like it. We saw it in Liberia recently. So it's more or less like a trend. Whenever it's going into a second round, so if we're going to have a second round in the 2024 election, obviously,
which you think is likely?
It is possible. I mean, when we come to the Mahama versus Bawumia, we look at the dynamics. It's the first time we have a former president who is running again. First time we have a northerner from someone with northern extraction on the MPP ballot. Different dynamics. So if they're able to even fight and split the vote up north, what happens to the south? So the dynamics are different. It's likely we haven't worked the numbers to granular details, but it's a possibility that it will go into the runoff. If it goes into the runoff, who will Alan spearheading the third, fourth guys coalesce around? Will he go back to his natural home MPP and say, this is where I've been, I am much more tilted ideologically towards the side, so let's support Bawumia to move over the hurdle to become president? Or enough with the MPP, I'm still not happy with how I was treated in the party.
I think that's where he is now.
So let us go and support the NDC to get into the vote. So it's a lot, but that is where his real political relevance will come to light if there is a second round. But for him to be able to win, that will be difficult. Already we've seen people like Madina MP, Boniface, and others who have decided to also run on the movement for change for parliament. He's able to get some seats in parliament, all the better. But he is trying to tap into the sentiments, the growing despondency. A lot of people do know. Ghanaians always complain about NDC and MPP, but when they go into that ballot and the results are announced, we see the number of votes they still get. So, voting MPP and NDC, it will take some time. We'll probably get to a point where Ghanaians shift from the sentimental attachment to politics. I mean, Ndum used to say we treat politics like Kotokone has. You know, the way people support football. Just the same way people, not that, I mean, football has consequences, but politics has a lot more consequences.
Do you know the percentage of voters who are floating voters who are able to, sway the win to the NDC or the NPP? Do you know the percentage of Ghanaians who are floating?
15 to 20%.
So about 15 to 20% of Ghanaians are floating voters.
So you have 40-40 and then the 20 in between.
They decide where the wind goes.
Yes.
Do you think that someone like Alan can pull that 20%?
For based on his political, how do I put it? People say he's still cut out of there. Because take the MPP away, Alan has not done anything. All that he is and all that he's been, never mind his stellar record. If he had stayed in the private sector and gone through the ranks of Unilever and Empretech and the UN system as he did, and did not get himself attached to the Kufuor government and have all the high-level government administrative positions he's had in politics, it's because of the MPP. So it's difficult for people to detach him from the MPP.
All right, let's come to you,
and
Komla.
that's where the issue is.
Okay.
Well, I think for Komla, the question then will be looking at when the transition was happening for Alan Chamanting, how did it reflect in terms of what you were picking from members of parliament from the majority side? And did that influence them in any way in terms of the way they conducted themselves?
To a large extent, even before the primaries, we had a good number of, I recall that interview I did with Arnold Dompre where first he said 90 MPs are solidly for Dr. Bawumia. In fact, it was one of the things that really silenced, to some extent, supporters of Alan. People like OPK, people like for somebody like Abna even, I've never even heard Abna talk about it. So she was always mute on her support publicly for Alan. Yes, until she released that statement. That was the official statement communicating who she had the support for.
She joined the walk. But you've forgotten she joined the walk. Alan Walk in Accra in Kumasi.
Oh,
she was there. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's
That's
when I noticed that.
Oh,
it's strange that.
because she has a
stuff for
key-
finance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But she
then
did
later
join the
understood.
work. I think that what Komlan is referring to is the public utterances
Yeah.
that characterize what
Statements.
others said.
But Roland, what is the biggest public statement
Than joining
joining
the walk.
him?
Joining.
Well, she was going for a walk.
So let's quickly wrap
to
up.
some
We'll come to
extent,
John Mahama
to
and
some
then-
extent, they rubbed it in the faces of the supporters of Alan who were MPs.
Yeah.
So a good number of them could no longer speak out the way they did because, look, it appeared as though they used the support for Baumia and others to whip them in line. And also, once you do not support Dr. Baumia, there was a threat of the sort. Many felt that, look, if we go on and say that we are the ones for, we are the ones who do not support Alan, Dr. Baumia, then the positions that they were holding, especially those of them who were going to contest, were now afraid. I remember the Subin MP at a point in time even went out to talk about the fact that there were attempts. When he started to talk about Ken Oforiatta, and he has been an individual who did not necessarily support Dr. Baumia. Many also thought that he was also on the side of Alan. So the people or the MPs who were on the side of Alan, a good number of them were quiet. But the Baumia ones had that vim and were able to go out and speak and all that. But how did it affect them? Yes, you are not too sure who is going to emerge, even though those who were on the side of Dr. Baumia were confident that Dr. Baumia will emerge. They feel that because he's an established candidate of the Flagstaff House, if you do not support him, you will be at risk. The primaries, you will have a ripple effect of it. So they were trying to play safe and all that. But eventually, after all of this was done, when Alan decided to go independent, I can tell you, some of them who spoke to me on the quiet said they expected him to, because they feel he's not being treated fairly. You know, a lot of them referred to the last election that he had together with the Akufo-Addo, where there was a promise of the sort, where he said, oh, I mean, once he's done, he was going to give way to him.
Agreement.
He took, well, those were the words that he used. So many felt that this was an opportunity for him to also stand up. But then, well,
was it a realistic expectation, really, seeing as the vice president was also on the ballot?
I think, yes, they expected it. But one other thing that these MPs were saying was the fact that when Dr. Baumia muted the idea of wanting to contest, he announced it at a point in time, but he started working way back. Look, if you speak to the MPs, they will tell you, almost all the ones that have spoken, especially the ones that support Dr. Baumia, they said Dr. Baumia started courting them years back, to the extent that there's not a single week that Dr. Baumia doesn't pick up his phone and call them just to check up on them. One of the people that even really shocked me is our own friend, Seth.
Oh yeah, Champo.
Yes, Seth Champo. You and I know where he was. So at the time that he decided to go to Baumia, we were all shocked. What might have gone wrong? What happened? Because I knew the relationship between him and then Alan.
You know when I thought it was a done deal? When Opayansa.
Absolutely. So
when Opayansa moved
also
from Alan to Baumia. That's
what many of them have also said is the relationship that Alan has had with them. Well, you could contest it, but then there is that established fact that Dr. Baumia has been able to court that relationship with even people who he knew did not support him. Naturally, that can draw you to him.
And he had nothing to do with his
But at the end of the day
influence
now,
being vice president.
we all know what transpired. Kennedy Japan came in, pulled the surprise.
Oh, yes, that too.
There's a talk that he's likely going to have an influence on the non-orphan constituencies. That's the constituencies where they currently have members of parliament.
It started.
And if you take a look at it, we now have the candidates, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia and John Dramani Mahama. Apart from what you observe in the House, what are the implications? Looking at the Ken factor, the movement for change, the effect on the ruling party support base, the regional base, vis-a-vis that race between Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and then also John Dramani Mahama Duke?
Well, it all sets the stage for us to have an election like none other in 2024. I mean, because take it or leave it, if you look at the dynamics of what has transpired so far, you have, for the very first time, two candidates who come from the north. We've never had that before, ever before. Two of the main contenders for the main political parties coming from that part of the country. They've all been vice presidents before. They have all had the opportunity as heads of the economic management team. President Mahama has been in office, served his 4-year term. He was unsuccessful in his bid to become a second-term president, so he's coming back again. Never mind the fact that there was a constitutional challenge which was thrown away. Ken Kranchi did that. But what all this tells us is that the stage is set for an election like none other. Now, so it's essentially going to be an election comparing of records. The records are going to be compared on the stage, on the political platforms, by the campaigners who would go from house to house campaigning. Will tell you that under Mahama, this so and so were done. Have you seen that? The economy will play a big role.
It's a major thing.
The economy will play a big role. Thing, yeah. Unemployment is a huge thing. So all of those things gives us the plot. Gives us the plot of one of the most engaging elections that we would ever have in the country. And for me, I think Ghanaians should never miss the choice. Should not miss that opportunity for us to make a bold statement politically come the 2024 election.
All right.
Apart from that, okay.
Cookie has some figures to share with us on the NPP
We're just
presidential
backtracking a little bit to your points when you were talking about Alan Kyerematen. So we just want to take a quick look at his progress from 2007 to 2023 at the Delegates Conference. Now, the first time he contested was in 2007, where there were 2,293 delegates. And this year, it was wonderful. There were 17 candidates vying for the same position. And as you can see on the screens, Alan Kyerematen polled 738 out of the 2,293 votes available that day by the delegates. And that formed 32.30% in 2007. Now he journeyed on into 2010. Well, these are the number of people who stood there, and Dr. Kobnatha Kennedy had only one vote, as you can see on the screen. But the concentration is not on him, it's on Alan Kyerematen. So moving on into 2010, the number of delegates had massively increased to 106,590. That was the number of delegates voting in 2010. And out of 106,590, Dr. Alan Kyerematen polled 21,226 votes, forming 19.91%. So which means that his popularity, if I am not mistaken, had dwindled a little bit in 2010, because considering the number of delegates who voted then, for him to just get 21,000, it means that his popularity had started dwindling. And you can see a reflection of it as we journey on. Let's go into the next one. In 2014, just like I hinted, that year also there were 115,000 delegates, and his popularity had dwindled, and that resulted in only 15,908 votes, resulting in 4.75% of the votes. So this is when people just started complaining that no, Alan Kyerematen probably has to do something magical to bring back his credentials in the party or to boost his popularity, because it was just dwindling and dwindling. Just take a look at 2007, where he had 32.30 votes, and compare that to 2014, where he only had 4.75% of the votes. Now, let's just fast track into 2023, and we all saw what happened, especially when he started announcing that he was going to stand for elections again. And in 2023, he had only 10.29% of the votes. And this is where the turmoil started. He started announcing that he was getting out of the party because it looked like everything from campaign to election day and everything that took place on the final day was engineered towards just one person winning the elections. And that's how come he opted out of the party. So guys, back to you. This has been Alan Trematin's performance all over the years, all the 4 times that he has stood for elections and in the MPP.
All right.
Thank you, Cookie.
So now the race is set. John Mahama, Bawumia. How is it resounding among ordinary Ghanaians on the street? Because sometimes the way the voting pattern turns out is different from what public opinion is.
Well, if you go, well, I've been with John Mahama running through the places he's been trying to seek opinions from on what to put in the People's Manifesto. When you hear what the people are saying, well, it's about some level of experience that should be at play because of where the country is now. They think that the MPP has been deceitful. I mean, if this is a true reflection, I remember one of the days I asked John Mahama, I think this was specifically in Goa, so I asked him what he makes of the reaction of the people. His response to me was the fact that he's an experienced politician. What the people tell him, yes, he listens to it, but he's also able to decipher exactly what would be beneficial to him. These comments that the people make, how true are them, how reflective are them even on the grounds? Does his own intelligence tell him that this is a true reflection of what the situation is? He says he has a team that is on the ground working around this. So yes, what the people would be deciding on would be an experienced leader or a person who has made the promises and has also gained some experience out of the party. We recall in 2016 when John Mahama said, if you've never been a president before, you should. I'm not quoting him verbatim though, but when Dr. Bawumia was lashing out at him at the time that he came into the scene, was throwing all the accusations of how he's been able to mismanage the economy and the loans that he took and all that, how he took the country backward. John Mahama responded by indicating that you've never been president before, so you do not have the right to throw these accusations at me. Now Dr. Bawumia has had a fail of the presidency, and so both of them are on the same peg. You will need to look at them on that level. But then what the people would also be looking at is, one, whether you've been able to keep the promises that you have made to the people. So John Mahama, in 2016, when he was moving out of office, the things he said he was going to do, did he do them? The people have to put all those ones on the table. Dr. Bawumia, the things he said that he was going to do, has he been able to do it? He put it in play, and then the experience to be able to take the country forward. Bawumia, to a very large extent, I think his marketing has been a solid one. You know, taking it back from 2016, where he was doing all the press conference and then the lectures and all that. We haven't seen him in recent time. I stand to be corrected, but I don't know whether he's done a lecture.
Any of those public lectures?
No, I think the last one he did was the one at was it Achesi?
There was an event in Kaswa that he attended, and then he talked a little bit about the economy, etc.
So people will be looking at all of that.
What about you? What do you make of this race between Bawumia and JDM?
I agree that it's going to be, as I indicated earlier, it's going to be a comparison of records and who has a better record of governance in this country, who's managed the economy better. Looking at the figures, everybody's had. John Mahama has had this opportunity to be president for 4 years. Ghanaians experience the kind of leadership that he has to offer, and vis-a-vis what he's saying now, that he's had the opportunity of be in opposition in 4 years to reflect on. Ghanaians have also witnessed 8 years of an Akufo-Addo presidency with Bawumia as vice president, how he has led the economic management team and the outcome and all of those things. So Ghanaians have an open book to do the comparison. And who really holds the future of the country in terms of the quality of the ideas.
Do you think that the proximity to elections will play a role? So we experienced Mahama some 7 years ago. We have experienced Bawumia now. Do you think that the closer to the elections your term of government was, the higher or lower your chances that Ghanaians will forgive some of your mismanagement, so to speak?
You don't forget that there is an unbroken rule in this polity. Nobody, no political party, or no political party has done more than 2 terms, more than 2 consecutive terms.
Except now the MPP is looking to break that.
Of course, but they have not done that. And there's a psychology behind that. There is voter fatigue. I mean, yesterday, I'm sure you monitored the news and found that there are some of the members of parliament who have decided that they will not contest against. They are suffering from voter fatigue. They are suffering from voter fatigue. Because when you get associated with somebody for some time, you need air to breathe. that is the number 1 challenge that the New Patriotic Party is going to face going into election. The issue of voter fatigue. We saw it in 2008. At that time, a lot of the conditions were, relatively good. The Kufuor era touted some of the things that they had done, social intervention and everything. It's the same issue that the MPP is facing, coupled with the fact that someone who is seen as carrying a lot of weight when it comes to the Ashanti region, which is the stronghold of the party, has also decided to exit. So those are critical internal questions the New Patriotic Party has to ask itself.
Okay.
Dealing with the voter fatigue, dealing with the 8-year issue. But of course, a good thing is John Mahama is a candidate that they've contested before on a number of occasions. So on that score, they may know him. But what about dealing with the internal issues yourself? And the psyche about Ghanaians that nobody should be allowed to run this country for more than 8 years. Those are the 2 most critical issues that they are facing. And of course, the issue of the economy and the IMF.
Okay.
But just a little
final comments on this, and then we'll move on to the next
largely,
topic.
what we play is, what is the pocket now, and what was the
economy
then?
That's the
which
economy.
Which is the economy.
So the bread and butter.
Yes.
The bread and the butter issues. Which my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, yours, everybody's going to look at it and say, okay, well, under MPP, how have we had it in the past? How did we do it? That's where the comparison of the records.
I think also Duke's point about what the sharp loyalties have always been socio-culturally also should not be lost on us, because people tend to vote based on a certain
sociological direction,
yes.
more than the state of the economy
or
what we're
that's
campaigning.
So much as the floating people.
So the 20% focus on the state of the
determines?
economy
So
and
they
the campaign
determine.
They
message.
determine, yes.
I was going to ask about that, and that's where the independent candidates and also the supposed, I don't want us to talk about the third force because we don't even know who is behind it now. But the independent
And there's also a party.
candidates,
Okay, I'll come
yes, those ones, would they be, what is the trajectory? What are the numbers they've been able to pull?
Oh no, independents.
They've not been able to cross even
1%.
13 have even been.
No independent candidate has
1%.
made 2% of the national vote. But we've not had an independent candidate who's been, cabinet minister for almost 8 years, who has this groundswell, who the polling numbers peg at a certain level. That's the Alan Tramati independent candidature. So we cannot put him on the same pedestal with the other independent candidates. And then there's apathy. Let's not forget. There are people who have grown despondent to the political process. They are saying, if I vote for Addison, so I will not even, I'll sleep, I won't vote.
All right, so let's move on to our second topic, the OSP versus Cecilia Dapa story. So there are actually many stories. We all know
OSP Gate and then
the
Cecilia
Office
Dapa
of the Special Prosecutor.
Dapa Gate.
Exactly. The office was set up to investigates corruption and corruption-related activities.
Involving public officials.
Yes,
and
involving public
politically
officials
exposed
and
persons,
politically exposed persons. We've had 2 OSPs so far. Our current OSP, Kisie Jabin, has been in the news a lot this year, especially one because of some investigation which he carried out on former sanitation Minister Cecilia Abena-Dapaah. There has been a legal tussle as they've been in and out of court, and currently I think they've hit a hiatus of some sort. But it is one of the stories that really shook up the political scene from the day of the first story, the reports by Marina Egbeta, the backlash, the subsequent confirmation, going to court, all Kisie Jabin being asked not to investigate the matter anymore. His subsequent press conference to let out his frustrations with the system and so on. So it's still ongoing. That has not ended. No, it's still ongoing. But Duke, did we talk about this again behind the scenes before it came out? No, this one we didn't talk about. So, but
I remember the story broke when I was in England, and it was my friend at that time. We were in a competition somewhere in the University of Hertfordshire.
Who was your friend? Kisie Jabin.
Oh no. I'm saying, we're in a competition.
Okay.
Back in
At the
school.
University of the Criminal Advocacy National Competition
Hertfordshire.
in England. Yeah, took place at the University. So my teammate was on BBC and saw the story.
Okay.
He said, Duke, you guys can do a lot of wonders in Ghana.
There's something happening in your country.
No, he's South African.
And this is on
South
Cecilia Dapaah.
African.
Yes.
Oh,
All right.
how? And he's trying to take a dig at
And I
us.
told him that they should go and face Zuma and the Escom power. We always take digs at each other. So I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I mean, it represents the matters are in court, so I would be very careful.
Yeah.
I'll try to
No, we should talk about the initial issues about a politically exposed person, public
The discoveries.
opinion, and all that. Yeah, that's what we're
so
talking about.
I everything that's ugly about our politics has been on display in relation to that matter.
Okay.
A minister having over $1 million stashed somewhere in their bedroom. It comes out as a result of her own decision to prosecute people who allegedly stole that amount of money.
Domestic workers
Who stole that amount, which means that if she had decided to find her own way of going around the issues, this would never have come to light. Ask further begging questions about how much other people in such ranks may be having in their rooms, in their bedrooms, and how even it took some time before she resigned. The president accepted the resignation and all
and the letter that he wrote to her.
Yes.
But before we get into that, Cookie is here again with facts about the Cecilia Dapaah matter.
The facts
with the figures. Exactly.
Cecilia Dapaah gigs.
So we all quite remember when the OSP went to her house to go and look for exactly what was in there, especially after she came out to say that monies had been stolen from her house. And this one was the one that started the brouhaha in the country. Well, $590,000 US were found in Cecilia Dapaah's house, including 2,862,007.00 CDs were found in her house. And thereafter, the OSP released a statement on what his position or his outfit's position were on the findings. Now, he says that monies were carefully concealed in wraps, polythene bags, and envelopes and kept in very obscure places at her residence, according to the OSP. Now, Cecilia Dapaah also now comes out to respond to the OSP's position. And this is what, so further on, the OSP stated that there are no financial records and traces of the origins of the money reportedly stolen from her residence. There were absolutely no records at all, according to the OSP. So after that, Cecilia Dapaah now responded to what the OSP had said. And she said, the OSP's actions are based on false allegations. The dead brother's account was opened with funds collected at his funeral. I wish I was at that funeral to see how much came in. Now, she further on responded and said she's a signatory to the account and the transfer was to pay school fees of her dead brother's children.
Wow.
Now, courts should now refuse requests for confirmation and order the release of cash seized and freezing of the account. So this or these were the responses that came from Cecilia Dapa, and we've all been on the political scene, and we know what happened afterwards. So guys, back to you.
Thank you so much. Cookie D.
I'll come back with more.
A lonely bed.
A lonely bed.
Gentlemen, Cookie is going to come back with more updates.
But to wrap up on that, if Cecilia
the filler lady.
We'll call her Cookie Dapa.
To wrap up on that, if Cecilia Dapa was a private citizen, she didn't have anything to do with government, this wouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
This talks, we may have a ministerial code, a ministerial directive, but all those things are administrative.
Okay.
We don't have a code of conduct
for public officers.
For public officers.
There's supposed to be a bill in
Parliament. It's not being passed. There's a lot of feet dragging on it. It should be passed. It should, akin to the ministerial code in the UK, you have what you are supposed to do, the do's and don'ts, clearly legislated. It was. I remember speaking to Bernard Dalla on this in the last Parliament. I don't know if it's been really.
I have not checked my records, but I'm not too sure. I'll have to check, but I'm not too sure whether it's before any of the committees. If it's before any of the committees, we've not seen it on the
Fair enough. So probably that has been jettisoned, but it needs to be back on the front. That's because of some of these issues. This is the other issue that we need to look at, so that when you get into public office, you are sworn in, you know that this is the code that you have to live by.
Yeah.
She may not have done anything wrong, I mean, hypothetically, but once you are in office, there's a certain level, there's a certain standard that you're supposed to live up to. Yeah. And to my criminal law lecturer, you see, I mean, you may have all the lovely and nice intentions, but as you taught us in motives during the criminal law lecture, it's not only about what you are able to, it's not about what you are thinking in your mind. It's about the name of the game is evidence and what you are able to provide. I will humbly plead that it's not only about the optics. A lot of the complaints that are coming out, it's more or less like about how the OSP is always out there first to put out information as to what they are doing, and then goes to court and then he faces these issues.
I don't understand. You're saying they do more PR.
I didn't want to use the word PR. I was talking
about
winning the war when
you are responding.
Yes, it looks like the OSP is much more, and this is my sitting under the tree somewhere observation.
Okay.
It's more interested in winning the war when it comes to the optics,
the public opinion,
than getting things done and getting the required results in the courtroom.
Okay.
So I would suggest that when it comes to some of these matters, there are a lot of senior lawyers who are willing in the anti-corruption fight to help. A lot more of consultation on how some of these issues, to beat the nuances, could help. He's one of the most brilliant people I've encountered. But in doing this public work, a lot more needs to go into it so that it doesn't suffer the fate that it's been suffering so far.
So Komla, the question then for you will be, would it then be coincidental in terms of how it wraps off public opinion that the OSP on one hand is the second one consequently complaining about the way he's supposed to be operating, the atmosphere he's supposed to be operating in, and how free he is to be able to operate in relation to tackling some of these issues involving politically exposed persons or people in public office? Because we have Matanamidu and then him.
Much as he has come under a barrage of criticisms over, the lamentations, for want of a better word, that he's been able to put out there in the public space. I think Kissie Jabane is very experienced, like you said. I mean, as young as he is, he's very experienced. He knows his tact and understands the law, the criminal side of the law as well. I have also heard some lawyers or people who know the law or understand the law say that he should have gone a certain path, but rather chose a different wasn't a different path. I am not a lawyer. I don't know whether the path that he chose were two, but he decided to choose maybe A instead of B. But what it is, like you have indicated, if these people are also willing, I don't think there's anything wrong if you Duke, who understands the workings of this data, goes to Kissie's office. I think he's an accommodating gentleman. I would want to believe, if these people have good intentions to help him fight corruption, I don't think that was there anything stops them from walking up to him and then trying to give him the suggestions as to what to do and what not to do. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with, with him also reaching out.
Oh,
To people he thinks.
Well, yeah, but
I'm sure he has his advisors.
Yes.
Sure he has.
Of course,
his
he
advisors.
has.
That's
his
why when
advisors.
some of the
the
things
prosecutors
came
that
out,
he's
you know,
actually
a lot of
even
people wondered.
employed.
Oh, he
The prosecutors he's employed, they are also
Crack lawyers.
Yeah,
Top
they are
notch.
they
Well,
know
we
their
had
act.
one of our guest lawyers here say that he had employed more younger lawyers than senior lawyers. That was one of our lawyers. I've forgotten that gentleman.
What was that statement supposed to mean?
Well, he was talking
Experience.
about experience and, you know, the people who are supporting the office of the OSP. And
I know the
that's what
police,
he said.
the prosecutor, is it Basintale or so, that the one that used to be at the CID, that he could have one top guy I know.
Oh, yes.
Though
So he did say that he has some experienced lawyers. However, he had employed more younger lawyers. However, I mean, I don't know.
That's one person's opinion.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. That's one person's opinion.
But
and
back to the
Kese
issue.
Japin remains a very seasoned
But back
lawyer.
to the issue of the lamentations. Yes, the procedure is there
Final
for
comments.
you to go to court, what to do, the papers to file, how to argue out your case and all that. The procedure is very clear on it. The rules are very clear on it as to what to do. But if he's been able to put out all of this and still has the frustrations as he's been able to lament, I don't think there's anything wrong with him lamenting it. There's nothing wrong if he expresses his opinion about something he feels wrong about, or his own instincts do not. There's nothing really under the Constitution or even under our laws that
Which
says that do
precludes
not
him from
complain
doing that.
about. Yes,
Yeah.
but then the most important thing is that you have also been set there to do the prosecutions, to fight the corruption which has become a major canker in the country. How have you structured yourself to be able to do this? Because look, if you look at it, Kisi Jaben is being in the news. Duke has said he fell short of using the word PR, but his own act that establishes him also says that he needs to inform the public on the steps that he's taking, the things that he's doing.
Quarterly report, I
yes,
think, too,
the
yeah,
quarterly
once
one.
every 6
So
months.
there's nothing wrong with that. But then, how has he been able to do this for people to have the confidence that these independent institutions are there and have not just the right resources, but also the energy to be able to fight the corruption that has become a major issue for the country? Kisi should sit down, maybe have an introspection, do more consultations. There's nothing wrong. Many say that he's almost out of the country at every point. I don't know if that's
We
true.
don't know that.
Yes,
Okay.
but then for me, I think that he should sit down, have an introspection, look at it. If there's a need to consult, yes. But the Martin Amido, I have a problem with Martin Amido. I think instead of him throwing out these things, the episodes and all that,
Out there throwing stones.
you resign.
So I think we'll end that conversation on the OSP. Yeah,
You
we'll end
know,
that
the good
conversation
thing
on the
about
OSP, yeah.
many of these things we're talking about, they all seem to either emanate from Parliament or seem to have some link to Parliament. And there are a number of things that we want to talk about. So we'll box all into three.
Right.
There's the IGP saga, the leaked tape saga. There's also the anti-LGBTQ. I call it the LGBTQ bill, even though, of course, it's called the anti-LGBT. But before precipitating all that was the initial 95 MPs who wanted the finance minister to go. And then we're told that, oh, if we get an IMF bailout, etc., the finance minister, Ken Oforiatta, will be gone. He's still a full sector. But just a word or two from you. I don't know whether we can get an insert and then we'll come back and Duke will have the conversation starting on that subject. Are we ready with that insert? Okay.
Allegations of conflicts of interest, lack of confidence, trust against the leadership of our finance ministry. The recent developments within our economy are of great concern to the greater majority of members of our caucus and our constituents. We have made our grave concern to the President through the parliamentary leadership and the leadership of the party without any positive response. We are by this medium communicating our strong desire that the President change the Minister of Finance and the Minister of State in the Finance Ministry without further.
So, Dick, what happened? I mean, clearly, the man should have gone, right? Because they said they didn't want him.
Yes, and this, this metamorphosed into a parliamentary inquiry. Remember?
Yeah. He came and
he
said
and
you can't
asked
provide
questions.
any evidence.
Katie Amon then was chaired by Katie Amon.
Even
had to force him.
Gabi
You
Ochoda
had him there,
as,
lawyer and all the back and forth and everything. Ghana's parliament sometimes is for very good soap opera. Anyway,
Anyways,
this is not. I beg you.
They are on break, so they are not hearing anything.
I beg you.
We don't want you to be
Mr. Speaker, I beg
the
you.
second
This
black
I
president.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw my comments.
Okay.
But to the point, seriously. I mean, for me, this is one of the disadvantages of having a hybrid presidential system. You have MPs angling for the favor of government,
The head of the
executive. So they cannot
categorically
bond by. If they had been successful in this action, it would have been a landmark action for people power, for MPs power, so that now ministers know that if they do not,
quote unquote, if they fool,
yes, they will get them out.
Ujimia, quote unquote,
they will get them out. But after this, and then the president calls them to Jubilee House. They come back and they say we've reached some agreement, some agreeable position. But these were MPs who were communicating the concerns of their constituents. Listen to how Eugene and Yapia Kubi, at the initial stages, they were articulating
vehemently,
articulating the concerns of their constituents. Contractors who are their constituents have not been paid. Roads in the Ashanti region, their World Bank, their vote basket has not been paid. District Assembly come off. A lot of issues emanating from the finance. It even spilled over during the passage of the Finance Ministry's budget in Parliament. All those things came up there. But because of that lack of a strong parliamentary, system in our governance system, everybody laps up, or the MPs are lapping up. They are looking forward to ministerial and deputy ministerial appointments. They are lapping up to the executive. And so the kind of independence that is required to take some of these actions, they are not there. It's not there. And so until we do something about it, these things will always happen. And at the end of the day, party power will happen. Remember what happened with, even with on the other side, the NDC. People said the votes were going a certain way until the chairman of the party appeared in the public gallery. Party position. Same thing with this one. I think after the meeting, the Justin Kodria and his also called the MPs.
The quick people into line.
Party position. When would the national interest be articulated by the representatives of the people?
And since then, if you take a look at the atmosphere in the House, all these agitations from the majority side, and then what the position was for the minority, which culminated in that inquiry, have we had that consensus about whether there's support for the finance minister?
Forget about consensus. It's not there. Look, sometimes when I hear this word consensus, it's, well, we only use it in maybe the reportage and all that. But look, when it suits their interests, then they build that consensus. That is their individual interest. They build that consensus. When it comes to the national interest, like Duke said, it is always never there. Look, this issue about Ken Oforiatta, if you enter the lift or if you sit at a coffee shop, that is where you hear a lot of things being said about it. You see
especially from the majority side.
You would see an MP who would come to the coffee shop and would spit a lot of
venom.
Yeah.
Really?
On a subject like this. 2 seconds, not even up to 5 seconds, so 2 seconds, because from the coffee shop into the chamber is 2 seconds walk. He enters into the chamber, it's as if Holy Ghost has touched him.
He's a change man.
Extremely changed and would defend whoever he has to defend with his blood. And that is the hypocrisy of it. You see them, they stand up on their feet, they defend, they debate whatsoever, but immediately they're out. They are the ones to lament most. And I asked them,
So you are here doing the lamentation. What do you want me to do? Why can't you just want to say, hey, Charlie, my seat is important? And that is the larger look. They are looking at their survival. And many of them, I can tell you, the positions that they even take, when they even go on radio stations and go on TV stations, the honest discussions that they make, they have ripple effect of it. They come all the time, and look, there are individuals who they sponsor who stand against them. We know of what's the name, Andy Apiakubi.
Right.
There were days that Andy will meet you and tell you all of this that he has done. His own folks are against him, but he was seeking the greater good. It appears to me, like Duke has said, that the national interest has been missing. And it's not been missing just for now. It's been over the years. If you look at the Sputnik V thing, which was not in this one, what did we know? I mean, on the face of it, even if you take the records of Kwekwaji Mamenu, the things he said at the committee, if it were a serious place, look, that minute appearing before the committee, Kwekwaji Mamenu should have been booted out straight.
You've been fired.
But what did we see? They clenched them.
Maybe it will
out.
happen in the US, not here. But now, what do we have to
Do we have hope? Should we have
so
hope to happen?
we have about 5 minutes to talk about the anti-LGBTQ.
Also in Parliament.
Yeah, it's also in Parliament. So it's a bill set to criminalize promotion, advocacy, funding, and acts of homosexuality, stiffens prison terms of up to 10 years to in prison for LGBTQ plus advocates, and up to 3 years for anyone identifying as such. So this is one of the topics that we've been going back and forth on in the social space and Parliament and on air as well. Duke, I don't think I've heard you talk about this at all.
It's a funny issue, but as a Christian, God loves the sinner but not the sin. And if this is not an issue that, if it was not in our faces, I remember saying it mentioning it in the newsroom.
If they were not establishing an office.
If it was not out there, I remember climbing onto a bus from lectures to my room in England. One evening, meeting two gentlemen doing things at the back of the bus. I sat quietly, put in my earpiece, but there's a Muslim guy in my next. When he went, he almost, with all the force he could muster, shouted that this is an abomination.
On the bus?
On the bus.
In England?
In England.
Okay.
I forgot.
Haram.
There's a... Oh, forgotten.
There's
a word, yes, haram, but there's a word that Abdullah would have reminded me.
Okay.
Allahu Akbar.
No. I don't know why I forgot. What the word is, the Muslim word is not coming. But I'm now there in the West. This is normal. And it's part of the new generation rights. The new generation rights that is being pushed out there as part of the Western soft diplomacy out there. I don't think that is something that sits well with us. It's not something that our society is willing to accept today or tomorrow. It's being legislated. It's in the right direction. But it should be done in a manner that does not end up affecting ordinary people. People will just be walking about without any evidence. People just start lynching them and to increase mob action and all of that. That is the fine line that the legislation needs to draw.
Okay.
Not the word is subhanallah. Subhanallah.
What does it mean?
I've seen an abomination.
Subhanallah.
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 Subhanallah. Yes.
I see.
So we're just climbing. Subhanallah. They just got off the bus and just.
So the meaning
That's
is...
how they abhor it. That's how the Muslims abhor this. They don't even. It's haram.
Okay.
So yeah. So that's what I will say. So the MP should be careful about how they craft it so that it does not increase mob action and people just being arbitrary. Beating ups and killings and the rest. But
so you support it?
The import of it about not...
I don't understand. You support LGBT? You support
I support
LGBT?
the edict of the bill that we do not need to promote such things.
So what don't you support? Because you report from Parliament and you live in England too. Is that what you don't?
What I don't support is the how, if it is not properly regulated,
The
on the
criminalization.
on the least suspicion, people will be beating up people, dragging them to police, and if somebody doesn't like you, they can create against you.
All right, Komla, in the house, has it divided opinions informally? That is coffee shop, lobby, those places, and then in the chamber, what is the opinion from both sides?
Before it was the first reading, and then it's getting to the second reading. There were divided opinions, but when that was the time where a lot of people. I recall this particular incident when the speaker met the CSOs and the chiefs that day. This bill sponsored, yes, Sam George and his group, and it was only, I think it was only Reverend Tim Fojo on the side of the NPP. In fact, they were all supposed to be at that the breakfast meeting that morning. When they came, Tim also came, but in signing the attendance list, he came and signed and left. As to what necessitated that, we cannot tell. But we got the impression that there was a backlash he started receiving, the more reason why. And since then, I stand to be corrected. I have not heard him speak on this matter since that time, even though he was an initial sponsor of the bill. And right even at this time, at the consideration
people have been denied visas.
That's the thing. So
you're saying it's not possible we're going to pass this bill?
No,
it will be passed.
Let me make the point. For me, my greater worry is Parliament would end up passing the bill, but for the president to assent to it
will be a problem.
Like
the witchcraft bill.
All right. He's already set the tone, and that is the dangerous aspect of it.
Right.
He may not sign it, and that would become another issue.
So I have my good friend who lives in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina, in the United States of America. Dr. Carl Kojo Domenyo, alongside the wife Angela. It says in the United States, the respect for human rights, no matter form or substance, is always available, and the fine line between diplomacy and the country needs to be respected, whilst at the same time respecting the culture and values of each society. Dr. Carl Kojo Domenyo and your wife Angela, good morning to all of you as well.
A loaded message.
Right, mashallah.
All right. So I think this is where we wrap up our conversation today on the big issues in national politics in Ghana in the year 2023. Yes.
I'm told that the two of you look alike.
Nine.
Did you get the same lens? Your lens from the same people?
And I invite you to take this matter to the Supreme Court.
Which matter?
For the president and the speaker. So that the Supreme Court settles this matter once and for all. Otherwise, every private member's bill that will... It has slight financial, even if it will cost the...
So Roland will lead that.
The president will say that.
Roland will lead that. Thank you so much. Duke Mensah Opoku and Uncle Komla.
The new year will do that.
Yes, we have to go to
the new year.
All right.
We'll do that.
So tomorrow we will go on to social issues that have been topical in the year 2023. On Friday, we'll talk about entertainment issues as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us, and thank you for sending in your messages as well. Stay tuned. If you haven't cashed out today, I wonder what you're waiting for. Dial *439# and you could win 2,000 Ghana cedis today. *439#. I still have that 10,000 Ghana cedis to give away on the 1st of January, Monday. 10,000 Ghana cedis to one person.
Can we do it? Can
yes.
Everybody can do it because I'll be doing it.
I've been taking. I've not been winning, so
10,000 Ghana cedis on Monday morning.
Money.
Dial *439#. But today we will just manage the 2K that we're giving you today. So dial *439# today, and you could win 2,000 Ghana cedis. Also, we have some news for you on employment. Ghana in collaboration, Rent It Ghana in collaboration with the Ministry of Works and Housing is giving an opportunity for the youth across the country to work with them for 2 weeks as data validators. This will be from the 15th to the 29th of January. People who will be employed will receive 1,000 Ghana cedis by working on 10 homes a day. Anyone who has the ability to navigate through mobile phone can apply. You just go to rentit.homes/MOH or you can send us a WhatsApp message on 0530491679 or 0530422521 to apply. It's as simple as that. So apply today and you could earn up to 1,000 Ghana cedis by working on 10 homes a day. Stay tuned. You're watching TV3 New Day. We'll be right back.